What would be good now is if somebody in Czech and somebody in Slovak can make, what we'll do, I tell you what we'll do, well, this would be good to do. If we all have a toast to the Velvet Revolution.
Everyone has red wine.
Yeah, we've got red wine. Yeah, so
it's so nice. I was in the supermarket thinking, should I get white? Should I get red?
Rosé.
Could everybody just say one little thing? When I went to Georgia, I had more toasts than I'd ever had anywhere. And, you know, before me, people were saying, you know, congratulations to this, or let's toast somebody or whatever. If each person here, we've got, are there 8 of us here? Is it 8 of us or 9 of us? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think so. Nine.
Rakesh, can you turn your camera on? Because it makes it really nice on the screen for 9 people. It's brilliant, Rakesh. That's fantastic.
Oh,
very nice.
Oh, only me.
9 of us here. Now, could each person just give a toast to whatever they want to toast, you know, in whatever order, and then we'll drink, and then the next person, and then we drink. So we'll have 9 sips of our wine, you know. Yeah, can we do that?
Can I start? I'm the oldest one here, so can I start?
please, Anna.
Okay, so I want to drink a toast to my country because it's a special day for us today, and I hope the situation will get better and everything will be solved out soon. And also to our fantastic group. I have never ever, as I wrote today in my post, experienced anything like this. Mark, it's much better than our camps, is it? Our camps are fantastic. This is really amazing. So, cheers.
So, na zdraví.
Yeah.
Na zdraví. Everybody.
Na zdraví.
Can I follow?
Yes, Karla, you can.
Yeah. Thank you, Anka, for her toast. But I still feel the Slovak Republic is part of me, and my best friends are in Slovakia, and I hope it will stay forever like that. And I still feel it's one country for me, and I think the relationship is fantastic. And I love to go to Slovakia. Spent last summer with Anka, and it was fantastic time. So those to Slovakia and both countries. Relationship.
The same to you.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
I'll be drunk by the time we
Well, here's a toast to freedom, friendship, and rule of law.
To the rule of law.
Yeah.
Rule of law.
We're slowly getting drunk here on the 17th of November.
I'm drinking water. I'm getting very healthy.
You know, it's the only situation how we can survive this. You know,
Yeah.
only possibility. You know.
I'll take my toast. Oh no, Rakesh, sure.
I think Anna, Bev and I might have something to say about being the oldest people here. as somebody who's nearly almost 70.
I'm almost 70 in 7 years. Don't worry.
Can I propose a toast to all my friends in Slovakia? I've been to that country. Well, Czechoslovakia, so many times. And I wrote an article recently where I remember that I've taught everybody from kindergarten kids to university students and university teachers. So I know Slovakia very well. I have so many friends there. I have been to Brno. I was invited by a beautiful lady who put me in a kitchen with 6 other beautiful Czech ladies. And I was told to order them around. I spent 4 hours ordering this beautiful...
True story.
I spent 4 hours with 6 Czech ladies in a kitchen, ordering them around, telling them what to do.
You poor man.
and it's all Nina's fault.
I completely forgot
Rakesh,
about it.
isn't there a song about this?
I don't know.
But
Because
there
it should
will
be.
be tomorrow, I think. Rakesh, you need to come to my session because you're the best proof of what I do.
Oh no, I was invited to come and cook, or not cook, but to help 6 of Nina's students to learn about Indian food. I thought the best way to teach them English and how to cook Indian food was to tell them what to do, and I did, and we had a wonderful meal afterwards. I think Nina is not nodding. Anyway, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you
Cheers.
for coming and
I will
helping
have to
us.
open another bottle of wine.
Thank you for coming and helping us post-communistic people to learn English and Indian cooking at the same time.
What a perfect place to
I will
live.
raise my glass and toast the return of sanity in my country, and hope that someday I'm going to come and visit all of you in all of the countries I haven't been to.
Cheers to that.
Cheers,
Beth.
Ben.
Yeah, cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
I'll say my toast to the Czech Republic and all the wonderful things it's given me over the last 30 years. 30 years I've been here, and my lovely Czech wife, my Czech son, and all of the work I've done here. And I'm going to say a little memory to my friends in Belarus who were trying to have their own velvet revolution just now and are still trying. So little memory for them as well.
Yeah,
that's my toast.
absolutely.
Cheers.
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 Put a damper on everything, didn't I?
Ilonka, it's your turn.
Okay, it's probably my turn, and I've got mixed feelings about something that Carla said about the split, and it's basically in one of the slides as well. So I feel home in both countries. Now, actually being in Netherlands, I still think back and look back. And for me, the toast would be, with all that is happening in both the countries these days, I would just say that may the democracy not be misunderstood.
Oh.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
My glass is empty, so who is the...
So you fill it up, and I wanted to say, you've got lovely background. You've got the flowers, you've got the roses, you've got the flag, and you've got the blue color that you're wearing. Yeah, I wanted to wear the November colors. Yeah, so my flag is behind me.
I bought it specially for our...
Beautiful.
On Saturday? On Saturday. I put it on Saturday when we had freedom lesson, and now there is the flag. Okay?
Right, right, yeah.
And our flag.
Your turn.
Yeah, and the flag, and you're wearing
The
blue.
roses are from Tesco. The Tesco has got the best flowers ever. Really, not in florists, but in Tesco, because they last for ages, really. So if you want flowers for your loved ones, go to Tesco.
Good. Yes, Mark?
Your turn, Nina.
Okay. Well, I love to go after my friend who's both Czech and Slovak, and I love to close this up with what Carla started. It makes me very emotional because I am one of those who absolutely hates the fact that we are two countries at the moment. And it brings me back all those years to when I was 11 years old, just like my daughter right now is 11 years old. So it's a very emotional year of celebrating with her and kind of without everyone at the same time, as I said at the beginning. And so in this COVID time, what could I wish all of us, and especially our two countries? I think one thing that, this guy that many of us love in our country always stressed, and he even signed his name with the heart. It was love. And so I want to wish love to all of us, because I believe that love is always the answer to everything. So cheers to love.
Cheers to love.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah. And I'd like to finish up with, I had the great fortune to get a British Council job in September 1989 in Czechoslovakia, and experienced all those wonderful weeks from November the 17th all the way through to Christmas, when this guy was elected president, you know, like of, and I remember going on a night train from Olomouc to Prague in a very cold December in the middle of the night to go and support Havel becoming president of Czechoslovakia. And I ended up actually 2 years later going to Lancaster University and writing my MA dissertation on teacher development in Czechoslovakia. And I interviewed lots and lots of students, students, you know, like about lessons, you know, the kind of thing that Judith Hanks talked about twice on our course, you know, about actually sharing problems in the classroom and talking to students about learning. And I actually had in Czech, stuff in Czech and in English in my MA dissertation. And I just wanted to read out very quickly. They're very short quotes. And I'll read it in Czech first and then in English. Yeah? Učitelé by měli být hodní a aspoň jednou týdně se nás zeptat, co se nám líbí a nelíbí. Hrozně se mi líbilo, že jste s námi nemluvili jako s blbečkama a nepodceňovali jste nás. Nechali jste nás vyjádřit svůj vlastní názor na to, jak by mělo a nemělo vypadat vyučování. Yeah? And Rakesh and Frank, yeah, and Almina.
Fantastic pronunciation, by the way.
Yeah. And Almina.
No
Yeah.
accent at all.
Rakesh and Almina. In English, this is teachers should be kind and ask us at least once a week what we like and what we don't like. I really like the way that you talk to us and that you didn't treat us as idiots or underestimate us. You let us express our real opinions about what teaching should and shouldn't be like, yeah? And a shorter one to finish up with. Je to dobrý, když se učitel ptá, co se žákovi na jeho hodině nelíbí, i když se třeba dozví krutou pravdu. Okay. So in English, yeah, it's good when the teacher asks the pupils what they don't like about the lessons, even if the bitter truth comes out, you know, like, and I'd like to, you know,
cruel.
The cruel truth, yeah. And I'd like to raise a toast to basically to us not underestimating what children say and listening, really listening to our students. And this is what Judith Hanks is interested in when she talks about, let's have a look at quality of life in the classroom. And quality of life is to do with listening very carefully to how the students experience being in the classroom and their feelings and taking all of that into consideration. And so I'd like to, on this memorable day of the 17th of November, when the beatings took place in Národní třída, Praze, you know, to remember that and to remember that Havel, you know, Bev, when we think about what's gone on in the United States over the last 4 years, you know, people like Havel, we need more and more and more in our lives. So I'd like to propose a toast to Václav Havel.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Václav Havel.
Thank you. To
Right.
Václav Havel. Thank you.
Mark, can
Yes,
I just say,
Rakesh.
I encouraged Almina to join us now, because in a sense, she and her country may not have gone through the pain of Czech and Slovakia splitting up. But I don't know, Almina, your country, which is now called North Macedonia, as opposed to the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, have you got anything to say about the country splitting up from Yugoslavia into what is now North Macedonia?
Well, I was born in December in 1990 when Yugoslavia was falling apart. So I don't have any memories of that time except of what people are saying about that time, that everything was much better. Everybody had the same rights. Everybody misses Yugoslavia here.
Yeah, I think people have been saying they
And
miss Czechoslovakia.
everyone says that it was much safer. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can the former Czechoslovaks respond to that? Is there a feeling on the part of some people that the good old days were better in some ways?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes,
some people are nodding.
those who would vote for the communists, but in general, younger generation and my generation, absolutely not. We are much further on economically. It's a very safe country. We are definitely not regretting the move. Personally, I regret the Czechoslovak split, but that's a personal thing.
Thank you.
That's quite different to what people would say here. Older people, like not older, like not my generation, because we don't have any memories because we weren't born. But older people say that it was much better, and because everything fell apart the moment when Yugoslavia split up here. Like in general, of course, there are people who say that, could think and say that things were not that perfect. Nobody says that it was perfect, but everybody says that it was much better than now, sadly.
Wow.
Anyway, Almina, have you got your glass of wine, or are you not allowed to drink at home?
No, I'm not allowed. I'm sorry.
I know you drink wine, but I think you do it
Not at home. Not at home. You know that. Yeah.
You can, drink
Not
juice
at home.
instead.
Muslim household. I'm sorry.
Because every time I go to Struga, Almina, and I usually finish a bottle of the Old South.
Oh.
The longing for the South.
Yeah,
longing for the South, yeah.
How do you pronounce that, Almina? Tagana Yug? How do you pronounce it?
Taga.
Tuganayug.
Tugazayug.
Tugazayug.
Yes.
Yeah? Right, yeah.
Yes.
Almina, can you tell the others where that comes from?
Well, that's the name of that's the wine. That's the name of the wine. But basically, it's a title of a poem, which is the most famous poem by a very famous Macedonian author. His name is Konstantin Miladinov, and he was born here in Struga, where I live, and that's why the wine is called Longing for the South. Yeah. And because of that poet who was born here, my town is considered the town of poetry and the cradle of poetry in the Balkans in general. And every year here we have the Poetry Festival, which is organized at the end of August. At the end of August every year. And many famous poets come here and present their poetry. One of the most famous poets that in the past received an award here was Pablo Neruda.
Mhm. From Chile, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just
so-
say, I was there about 3 or 4 years ago at the Poetry Festival. Uh, Somebody who's been interested in poetry all my life, I'd never heard of this. And it used to be, and still is in some ways, one of the most famous poetry events in the world.
Mhm.
Since the advent of television and radio and the internet, not as many people attend. But in the old days, you would have thousands of people taking over the whole town of Struga. Uh,
Yes.
so Google it. It's called
Mhm.
Struga Poetry
Poetry
Nights.
evenings,
Evenings,
yes.
night. Okay, yeah.
Evening, yes.
Anyway,
It's a great part of the Struga culture here. Poetry is a great part of our culture here, and we also have the Park of Poetry, which is dedicated to poetry. And so yeah, that's,
but did Havel write poetry or did he write just plays?
Probably plays, I think.
Mainly plays.
Mhm.
mhm.
So, can I say something? All the time we are talking about emotions and about feelings. And what I remember from 1989, because I was 33 years old. Yes.
Wow.
Wow. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So it was a great feeling of companionship.
Yes.
We were like one big family. People smiled. You cannot see it today in the streets.
Mhm.
All so nice to each other. In the shops, everywhere, in the street, so not because there is COVID now, but it's because that simply we forgot to smile. We look like, yes, all the time. And also the feeling of, I don't know, people were so helpful, and we listened to each other, and it was much, much different than it is now. But I hope everything gets better when these crazy times finish. Maybe sometime. Nobody knows when. Yes, but let's hope it will get better. And I remember when it started in Bratislava and in Prague, Dusan and me, we are glued to television, and we couldn't believe it's real. Really, we were just watching it. Is this in our country? We didn't believe it, because we were so much used to live in that probably nothing will ever change. So now we were just big eyes glued to television and couldn't believe it. But what was the worst, that this euphoria, when it came back to reality, was something different. Yes, Carla and other girls know what I'm talking about. It's something different that we rank our keys for. Yes.
Poslední, zvonění, poslední, zvonění, poslední, zvonění.
I was watching TV tonight. There was protests in Bratislava, so we'll see what it brings.
Anna,
Carla, I don't know if there were any in Brno or in Prague.
Anna, can you remember 1968?
Yes, I can. I was 11. Yes, I was sitting on the pavement and waiting for Russian tanks to come to my reach, because they went the night before. Mark to Yavorina. Can you remember Yavorina?
Yeah.
Yes. So they went the night before. They went to Yavorina and they stayed there. And next morning we were sitting with my brothers on the pavement and waiting for the other ones, because we could see on the road. They were on the road. They were, I don't know what do you call them. The road was destroyed by tanks. So we knew the tanks went there, and so next morning we were sitting on the pavement and waiting for the tanks to come. So
Mark, can you
I
remember
experienced a lot in my long life,
the name of the guy who set himself on fire? Was it Jan
Yes.
Palach?
Jan Palach.
Jan Palach, yes. Jan Palach, yes.
Mark?
Can you explain
Mark.
to the younger ones what he did?
Okay, Rakesh, Mark, if you want, I've got a few slides I could share. And Jan Palach is there as well. Just a brief information, and then we can speak. Together with the slides, we can speak about it. But I don't know if I can do it myself. If I can send it to you, or if I can do it myself. I'm not sure.
Have you got share screen at the bottom?
Nope.
Yeah, you need to enable everybody to share the screen, Mark.
Okay. Let me see. Wait.
Okay, I have it.
If I make you the co-host, then that's
okay. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Just a second. I'll just. Okay. Okay, what do you see now? Do you see just the first slide, or the next, or do you see also the next slide? The first slide.
The first one. The first one.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so that was the beginning, and we have already spoken about it, but we wanted to speak about Jan Palach. So these are just a few pictures I found. Maybe some of you are familiar with those. We can speak about it later. I found the articles in The Guardian and The Observer. I've got the links to those. I can put it on the Facebook page afterwards, but there was a question about Jan Palach. Just for those that are here and have no information about it, this is just a brief background, and then we can speak about it in more detail. You finished reading? So Rakesh, you mentioned 1968, so I think that many people speak in connection with 1989, in connection with that, with 1939, 1968. Maybe Ani, we can maybe share the link afterwards on the Facebook page when there's this information about it for the others who are not here. So maybe that could be a good idea to do. So this is just the background. And I was 11, same as Nina, in 1989, which actually was kind of, I think we all know, or most of us know, that it was kind of connected with International Students' Day, the 17th of November at that time. So these are all the words I gathered in connection with that. So I think there's a very close connection with the International Students' Day, Jan Palach, and all the situation that, or all the events that, everything that happened on the 17th of November. So maybe, Annie, if you have more background or about that.
No, I don't.
But yeah, this was the reason why people gathered, right? The reason why people gathered together. Because basically something that he supposedly said was that there are not other people to follow what he did, but just follow maybe the protest, things like that. But the reason why people gathered, that was one of the reasons, if I'm not mistaken.
Can you show us some more? Because I see that you have got 13 or 11 slides. Can you show some?
Of course, yeah. Well, actually, this is from the 17th of November, 1989.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure whether you're going to be able to hear that, but for those of you, this was, I think, the theme kind of song, a theme song for the event.
Mm-hmm.
So I provided the Czech and English version of that, and I'll just try to play, and you can tell me if you can hear it.
No, you have to share sound as well.
Okay. Share sound. I'll try to find out how to do that. Oh, that's a challenge.
Corner, probably.
I think if you go into the share screen again,
Okay.
then you look at the advanced settings, maybe.
Ilona.
Yes.
What would be really nice now? We've got one,
Yeah.
two, three. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got about 10. What would be really nice? Because we could all do this. We could all.
Yes. Okay. I know what you mean.
You know, like one person could sing 2 lines, and then the next person could sing 2 lines, and it would be no like last night.
Mark, I'm not going to sing. I can't sing.
You don't have to sing, yeah. But anyone
can sing all together, okay?
I'll start.
I just wanted to okay, I'll try to do it. I can't see the full screen of Zoom. I don't know why. Okay, I'll try to go back and share the sound as well. One participant can share at a time. I don't know how to share the sound. I don't know how to do that.
Ilona, we can actually.
Yeah.
I'll start, you know, and then see if anyone wants to.
Okay, Mark, wait a moment. It
would be lovely if all of us kind of, or some of us, like contribute, like Anne last night, you know, managed to bring in all different people from the different countries. Yeah. So actually one person can sing one bit, another person can sing another bit.
But Mark, the thing is that if we don't have the music accompanying that, it's very hard to follow, I think. So I thought that you would be able to hear that, but I can't hear it myself. I'm sorry, I have never done this on Zoom. So what I could do is I could share the link in the chat. Yes, Ani? It's on YouTube, yeah.
Thank you.
Carry on.
Lidé navrátí.
Perfect. I thought that it would be nice to have this as at least the chorus part, because I think it's very much connected. And actually, this year there was Anata Langerová singing that, and I have that one as well. You know, 30 years later. So there is this English version for those of you who kind of might not be aware of what was going on. And this is 1990. And I was watching TV today, as Anička said, as well. And a piece of news there was also about the American president, Mr. W. George Bush, visiting Prague in 1990. It's just audio. So I think it's basically the same thing. You probably can't hear it. So I will share it on the Facebook page as well. But basically they spoke about that it was a big thing, that it was the first time in Czechoslovakia at that time that somebody would come for such a visit. And what was basically mentioned was the celebration of the democracy at that time. So I thought there would be a video, but there are just these pictures with the audio behind. And I know that the people spoke about that he played the saxophone afterwards, after his speech, which I think
that would have
is
been
a nice connection. Bev, I haven't found that. Unfortunately, I haven't found it. I only found this video.
no,
Yes.
no, it wasn't George Bush. It was Clinton.
Yeah,
Clinton.
I was going to say George
No,
Bush couldn't
no,
play the
no.
saxophone. George Bush
didn't play
found it
anything.
difficult to play.
Okay, you're right. You're right. It was later. Yeah, this was the first visit, and they spoke about that. He came with 500 people taking care of him, and Mr. Clinton came with 900 people afterwards. So I don't know how many is later. I can't remember. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, but I couldn't find a video on that. I couldn't find it, but I believe somebody might find it there.
No, we ought to organise a trip to America to celebrate democracy in America.
Well, it's back again. Thank God.
But when I heard about this in 1990, because I obviously don't remember that, so I felt like, again, we're kind of connected, you know. Czechoslovakia, tiny little country, and the United States, and of course the NATO later on, things like that. Okay, so I thought we could listen to that, but maybe later.
Mark?
Yeah, when I was watching people dancing in the streets in the United States after the American election, you know.
Yeah, it was great.
It reminded me a lot of that night when I was in Václavské náměstí in Wenceslas Square in Prague on the, it would have been the 23rd of November, when everyone was rattling the keys, you know, and saying, you know, poslední zvonění, the last ringing. And it felt like in the United States last week, very similar, that it wasn't just the end of a government, but actually the end of a regime. It felt, you know, with the end of Trump. And that, it felt very...
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, a regime
it
of
felt that way
madness.
for most of us, but there still were over 70 million people that voted for it.
That's horrifying. That's honestly
disturbing.
horrifying.
It's very disturbing.
It is.
Yeah.
Very. For everyone. Not just
Yes.
you guys in the US, everyone.
Yes.
Everyone. We are in it together.
Yeah, 70 million people who don't understand what truth means.
And I think that us who have been through this can empathize even more because we recently went through this. Yeah. So it's
And
very
we are
different.
still going through it. Macedonia is still
Mina,
going through it. Macedonia is still going through it, so I can empathize as well. Yes.
Well, I think things like this that bring us together as one world.
Yeah. One love, and Bob, as Bob Marley says. Sorry, I have to throw that in. I'm a reggae girl.
But I don't know what we do about those who are already entrenched in that kind of thinking. That I know our schools will get better because we're getting rid of the Secretary of Education who knows nothing.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh God, a horrible person, and she
Oh,
will.
Beth, yeah, go on.
So she'll be gone, and then we'll get people who actually want to educate again. We used to have pretty much free university here, and that doesn't exist hardly at all anymore. Even the state universities are so expensive and difficult to get into.
Ilona.
Yep.
Looking at the slide now, you know, I remember thinking at that time, because I was living in Pardubice in Eastern Bohemia at that time, and following the whole split. And I remember thinking, how is it that two men can get together in Mies van der Rohe's house that he designed in Brno, the Tugendhat Villa, that they spent 2 or 3 days there and decided, the two of them, that the country would be split, like without consulting anybody within Czechoslovakia, that the two of them got together without any referendum or, you know, can you imagine this, Frank, in Britain? Like suddenly somebody in London decides that Britain is going to be split up and nobody's going to be asked, you know, and Boris Johnson is going to get together with I don't know, who is it in Scotland? What's her name in Scotland?
Not Sturgeon, is it?
Yeah, the Nicola Sturgeon and Boris Johnson.
Yeah, Nicola Sturgeon.
Together in some medieval castle in Yorkshire, you know, and decide, oh, we're going to split up the country, and then it happens, you know. Like
that would be a great thing. I mean, I'd wish it to Scotland now.
Yeah, and I would like to see that too. But it was amazing, wasn't it? The fact that could happen with two men who just got together and decided that the country would be split, because
and everyone was really shell-shocked, weren't they, at the time? Like, yeah, I think the Czechs have to speak to this, but it felt like nobody could believe it for like half a year or something.
I mean, when you looked at correct us if we're wrong on this, Carla, you know, and Nina and everything, but the people in Eastern Slovakia, in Prešov, Košice, the majority of them didn't want Czechoslovakia to split up. Certainly the Hungarians didn't want it in Czechoslovakia. Wasn't, Anna, the majority of Bratislava didn't actually support the country being split? It was basically
Can I tell you something?
Vladimir Mečiar's kind of stronghold, you know, in the rural areas, you know, where there was a majority for this.
Mark, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
You know where I live? Just right on the border between Slovakia and Moravia, yes? Which is part of Czech Republic. I think nothing better could happen. I will tell you why. Because before we were accusing all the money go to Prague and nothing is left in Slovakia. And now we are Slovakia and Czech Republic. And we have got the amount of money and we have to simply, you know, it's like in a family, no? We are Slovak family and Czech family, or Moravian and Czech family, yes? So now it's I don't see any difference. I would say that now our relationship is even better than it was before.
But are you saying, Anna?
Carla, please support me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yeah.
I don't see any difference. I can say it is even better because we do not accuse Prague. Prague is taking all the money. We don't have anything in Bratislava, you know. Now we have got Slovakia, Czech Republic, and the money we have got, and that's it.
But you're saying, Anna, then that it really was the people who felt that way. So what happened with Mečiar and Klaus? So what happened with the politicians actually did correspond to how the people felt in Slovakia, that they resented money going to Prague.
Didn't want to separate, but I live here, just 12 kilometers from the border. Carla knows where I live, yes? And we don't feel any difference between Czech Republic and between Slovakia. We feel the same as it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
Also the same feeling, you know. We are simply brothers because you helped us in the past, and now I don't see any difference really.
Can I come back to your question you asked, which was how is it that two men got together?
Microphone.
Oh. You asked how is it that two men got together and decided on the split. Now, this may or may not be relevant, but in the case of India and Pakistan, it was one man, a civil servant from London, who had no idea about India or Pakistan. He was sent to India with a map, and he sat in a room on his own, and without consulting any Indians or Pakistanis, he drew a line on the map. And the result of that line was, some people describe it as the biggest migration in human history. 12 million people were displaced, and in the process, at least 1 or 2 million were killed. It's one of those facts of history which it's familiar to me because I was born a couple of years after that line was drawn. But at least the two men got together and discussed something. Whereas in the case of India, no one was consulted, and this man from London, who had no idea about India, just drew a line on the map, which resulted in so many deaths. And this war between India and Pakistan is still going on after 70 odd years. Anyway, it's not relevant to what we're celebrating tonight, but it's just one of those parallels in history we have to think about. End of my lecture.
Oh, that's a good. It was a good reminder of the context. Also, the Velvet Revolution. It feels like the strangest thing almost. That how is it possible you could separate from communism? And one person gets killed who didn't get killed anyway.
Sorry, Mark.
Who's got the music in the background?
No, not guilty.
You, Mark.
I haven't got any music, any background here.
Maybe Roland is playing some music.
I think Roland's gone to bed by himself, to be honest.
He has.
I think it is Carla's cat.
Singing.
I would also like to add that even worse than communism is the fake democracy that we live in Macedonia right now. I haven't lived in communism, and I cannot comment on that, but I can tell you my experience that fake democracy is even worse than communism. Yeah.
And it's fake, Almira, because, and I apologize for not knowing the politics well that you're living through, but it's fake because one party is oppressing and pretending they've won a fair election when they haven't, yeah? So there is an oppressive party. Oh, you're muted.
No.
Am I muted? No.
No, Almina's muted.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yes, here we have 2 or 3 political parties, and what do I mean by fake democracy? For example, we had elections in June, and in the middle of I will tell you just one simple example, which is a real life example. For example, we had elections in June, and if people didn't even during the pandemic, we had elections, and I get emotional when I talk about this because it's, and people that didn't even people that they were self-isolating. They made them go and vote for the party. They even made, for example, my cousin who is blind. They called his parents to make him go to vote, even though he's a high-risk person of getting infected. Because if people are scared here that if they don't go out to vote, they will lose their job.
Yeah, that's not.
Even though, yeah, that's what I mean by fake democracy. They represent ourselves as a democracy, but in reality, things are pretty different here.
Right.
Yeah, so.
It sounds like when in the United States, where we went through the whole communist scare of the 50s, McCarthy, if someone accused you of being a communist, you'd lose your job. There are a lot of people that, my father wouldn't discuss politics in our house for fear that we would open our mouths and say something out in public, and he would be out of work.
Right. But that's one of the stories. I've got memory. I came to the Czech Republic in February 19. I hope this mic's working okay. But it was February. It's 3 months after the revolution, and it was like an amazing time. But it's like the euphoria Anna was talking about was still there, and it really was like it felt like that. It felt like a party for like the first 2.5 years. I'd say that it took a while for it to.
The whole decade, let me tell you, for teenagers.
Pretty much, yeah.
I was a teenager the whole decade.
Well, exactly. But then you were kind of 14, so you had lots of parties. Well, when that finished, you were already probably starting your own parties then, you know, weren't you?
I had to say it.
Yes, absolutely. It was good. Okay, I think I lost my thought. But it was interesting anyway.
Nina, in Brno today, was there any kind of get-togethers or anything? You know, what's the situation like with COVID now in Brno and people gathering for things?
But you cut off David, so please let him finish.
Oh, right. No, but David was losing the plot anyway, so it's a far better question. You can answer that. I'll remember by the time you finish talking. It's okay, Nina.
Okay, so there was a lot of stuff happening online from the organizers of non-profit organizations who support democracy, let's say, and support the civic society. We have the biggest one called Milion Chvilek pro demokracii and befriended organizations in different cities. So here in Brno, it's Společně Brno, it's in English, Together Brno, and they broadcast online, yeah? So they broadcast an online demonstration, as we always go to these offline ones every year, and I missed it like crazy this year. Seriously, this is one highlight of my year that I always go to and celebrate democracy and freedom in my life. I bring my daughter, I come and see other friends because we meet in the city, we have drinks, we go to cafes, and that wasn't happening today. And I still felt like, oh my God, I have to go to the city, yeah? So I went to 2 commemorative places, statues in the city. Brno is the second largest city, for those of you who don't know, in the Czech Republic. It's about 120 kilometers north of Vienna. So it's actually closer to Vienna than it is to Prague. And so I went to the statue of Masaryk, who was the first president and is of Czechoslovakia from 1918, and he is to blame for independent Czechoslovakia, and he is widely admired. I would say similar to Atatürk in Turkey. He is that admired in our country. And so there were candles and some wreaths. And then I went to the main square of Brno, Freedom Square. And there is this plague column, and usually people put candles there, as you can see, yeah, but there was much more happening in Prague, of course, and there were people gathering on Národní třída, which is the main street where the beating happened on the 17th of November. But generally there were a lot of people in the center because it was a beautiful day, sunny day, very warm day. People were buying from the bar and pub and cafe windows, which all sell stuff even on a public holiday, yeah, because they have to
survive,
do business, yeah. And it was just, yeah, lots of people I could see like gathering in smaller groups. I didn't make any dates with anybody because I didn't feel it was appropriate, but people were doing it, obviously.
I just thought of something totally different. It's a good time for plague columns, isn't it? They'll be coming back into fashion.
Yes.
I think you got
absolutely
plague columns. I think you're onto a good thing.
Yeah. David, I went up to the castle here in Budapest to have a look at the plague column, you know, a few weeks ago, and I'd never noticed it before. And now I think it would be a very good thing to take students to these plague columns.
I think you're right. That's a good way to connect, wouldn't it? And that's a living memory of.
Have a look at the depiction of the plague. Yeah, and to look closely at the pictures. You know, when we're looking at using pictures in the ELT classroom, to look at the plague columns, you know, when they were built, why they were built, you know, like, and what is on them, and yeah, I think it would be. Nina, we've talked about this a lot. Nina, we've talked about this, about doing something in Veverki. What's the name of the streets that we've talked about?
Veverki.
Veverki.
That's a specific sound in the Czech language that not many people can do, and I don't blame them. Yeah, we always test the foreigners on it, like you know, like the Dutch tested during the Second World War on their. So we have this.
You know, you just go out with your students.
We have je too. We have je also. Yeah.
But different kind, I suppose.
A different kind, yeah. Je. Je.
We've got a je as well.
Nina, can I test you? Nina.
Go on. Oh yes, Slovak ones. Come on.
Čučorietka, my dear. Čučorietka.
Čučorietka.
Of course, I know that one. Yes.
So, can you pronounce it, please?
Čučorietka.
Okay, hmla.
Hmla. Oh, zahlmení. Oh my God, I just heard. I have a good friend. I have many Slovak friends. You cannot. Like, my daughter, who's 11, understands everything.
It's perfect, yes, because our kids understand Czech, but unfortunately, Czech children don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important for me. Very important for me.
Yeah. Okay.
See, you can experience many different people and opinions in my country on this, though. I am an exception, a bit of an exception. So don't take me.
I can show you the picture from Národní třída from Prague. Because my friend sent it to me. Can you see the picture?
Yeah. I saw that on Facebook today.
There is the.
What is that a picture of?
Candles.
And the candles and
the monument, Frank, on Národní
Can you see it?
where the demonstration.
Anna, can you hold it closer to the camera? Really close to the camera.
And say something.
Yeah.
And say something so you're on the speaker view.
So there is the table with the date 17th of November, and there is a girl. There is a girl. I think she's a scout.
Oh.
And there are the candles. So he's from Národní třída in Prague today.
Wow.
It's funny. We know, well, one interesting memory. I'll give you just a couple of.
16. Okay.
I'll put another one. Yeah.
Is I remember because I was here from February, and I remember the first anniversary of November. And the first anniversary, I was waiting to see what was going to happen, and of course nothing happened, and nothing happened for about 5 years. Because it takes a while, even though it felt like it's such an obvious anniversary, and it is, of course, but it still took about 5 years before it became something, and then every year it got bigger and bigger, and of course that's the nature of anniversaries. It does take a bit of time for the nation to kind of unite around the date and make it a. If it's too fresh, it doesn't seem to work. But I was waiting there. I remember the first year that it's the first year anniversary. There's going to be something happening. But nothing.
So, Carla, did you just stay at home today?
Yeah, well, I went out, but not to the city center, as you know, the lockdown situation makes it strict. It's not possible to gather with people, so I didn't go to the city center. But yeah, it was a beautiful day, and it was raining before. It was really awful, so it was, sunny again. So yeah, just went around the lake for a walk, but I didn't go to any memorial or anything like that. Yeah.
And then you're teaching again tomorrow, are you?
Yeah. 8 o'clock in the morning. And
7:50. Mark, 7:50 in my school, don't forget.
Okay.
7:30, yeah.
I know.
7:30 in my school.
Yes, exactly the same, yes.
What do you think? Maybe we could, because this is it's always interesting to think about how other people might benefit from listening to us now, and that's why it's quite.
Everybody can benefit from listening to us, Mark.
I think we can benefit very much, especially the expressions of na zdravie in different languages.
Yeah.
Like, But Ilona, do you want to finish? Yeah, finish the slides, Ilona.
So this is actually the last.
Oh, those are the keys.
Yes, those are the keys. And the 2 flags were made by my son today. And yes, he did that this afternoon.
How old is he, Ilona?
9.
Oh, super.
So
Great.
you can imagine that I'm not quite sure. Well, we did speak about 1999 as a great happening, something wonderful that happened. But I maybe feel very close to Nina because, okay, on the one hand, we feel that something ended and something new started. But for me, 1993, which I remember much better, and the split of the 2 countries is far more kind of important. I myself, I'm married to a Slovak, wonderful person. We've got.
Can you show us your wonderful persons from Slovakia?
Well, my husband is working on a computer and it's quite dark because our son hasn't fallen asleep yet, so I can't talk very loud. But he made these 2 flags, and for me, it's just that I kind of I can understand what was happening after 1993. And for me, for example, being Czech myself, living in Slovakia, having a Slovak husband, I have encountered many issues, many problems traveling between the 2 countries, having different currencies, having difficulties with different institutions. So I can't share an opinion with everybody who says that it was a good idea. I'm not sure. No, it's okay, Annie, because I know many people of your generation feel that because your experience is different from mine. And I think it's absolutely fine because for you, this is true. For me, the truth is somewhere else. I know that the life of people working might have been much easier if we were still the 2 countries. But what I think matters the most is that we still are like friends. The truth is, while I'm in Slovakia and I hear some Czech language, my people are here, my people are here. I have to admit that it's true. And I do remember me learning Čučoriecka, Guločka, Viamočka, and things like that. Yeah, different Slovak expressions, and my husband told me that how to pronounce it correctly. But I think all of us have got different opinions. And when I got this kind of little task from Mark, I asked my father-in-law, and I asked my sister about how they felt about 1999 and how they feel about it now. So we spoke about education as well. And I think my sister was doing her Maturita exam, school leaving examination, in 1990, actually, right after the Velvet Revolution. So they had started learning Russian language and preparing for Maturita exam from Russian. Suddenly, there was Maturita exam. They started learning English.
Yes.
But they still had to pass their school leaving examination in Russian. Well, probably the result doesn't really matter that much. But I remember myself being in the Square of Freedom in Brno, but I didn't understand. I was 11. And 1989, I could understand a bit more in 1993, as Anička spoke about. I remember seeing on the TV, the broadcasters at that time were real people, no computers. So they were crying. On the 31st of December, 1992, people were crying because it meant the split.
Yes.
And we kind of didn't understand that. Like, why? And I know that around in other countries, it was welcomed that there were no fights and we split very peacefully. But the same as some people, as David said, in 1990, we expected some celebration because people didn't know what exactly was going on. They couldn't understand. Then 1993, like, what for? Why? So kind of mixed feelings on that. And the last comment, and then you can react to that, is this year, 30 years of democracy, and I don't really feel that people know how to deal with it, what it actually means, what it's supposed to be used for. And as Nina suggested or mentioned today in Prague, Bratislava, Brno, there were people who gathered. I had it in one of the pictures. And there were kind of mild protests against the government, against the restrictions in connection with the COVID situation. So somehow we haven't learned in 30 years how to deal with that. So I think we still have something to learn. We still have a lot to learn.
When I first met Jeremy Harmer, you know, it was, I think, 11 years ago at the IATEFL Hungary conference. And I used Jeremy's book when I trained as an EFL teacher in 1984 to 1985 at Manchester University. And his first edition of the practical English language teaching had come out based on lots of work he'd done in Mexico, you know, with teachers there, and he'd put them all together, a bit like Saussure did, you know, like with his stuff, you know, like he lessons and then put it together and kind of came up with an approach to linguistics to it. And I got Jeremy to, I said to him, I went up after his talk, and because I like getting autographs, I enjoy people writing in books that I've got. And I've got lots of books here signed, you know, by Chomsky and different, Vanessa Redgrave, different people. And I said to Jeremy, could you please write, you know, like something for my students, you know? And he wrote, Frank, have you got that anywhere near you to actually show it? Yeah, like, because I think you've got that, haven't you? At the moment?
I've got it.
Could you get it and then show it to the camera? Because it would be good. And he said the most important skill that a teacher has is the listening one. And Margit has just got a book out, and one of the things that Margit is interested in is something that Donald Schoen said about holding ideas loosely, you know. And tonight we've got different opinions about the split in Czechoslovakia, you know, like, you know, for and against and that, but to actually with our students to get people right. Yeah, can you show it, Frank, closely with Jeremy's signature there?
Yeah, can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a bit closer. It says Mark. What does it say? Mark and his students. Yeah, Mark and his students. The most important thing for teachers. What does it say, Fran? The most important.
Right.
Can you read it?
Mark and his trainees. The most important thing any teacher does. Oh God, I can't read it. Is yeah. Yeah, I can't read the last bit. So, yeah, I got it. So Mark and his trainees, the most important thing any teacher does is to listen.
Yeah. Can you show it again, Frank? Can you hold it up to the camera? Yeah. Yeah, there we are. And it's 19.
It's also important in the marriage, not only in school, you know.
In marriage.
Listen.
And it says
in life.
Budapest, Frank, what does it say? Budapest 2009, wasn't it?
I think 2007.
2007, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, what we've had tonight is, you know, we've listened. People have listened to each other's kind of experiences of the split of Czechoslovakia. Yeah. And what is, I think, important in what we teach students to do is to have the kind of discussion that we've had, you know, over the last hour, you know, where we listen and we don't judge and we try to understand, you know, in the way that Judith Hanks was talking about how we try to understand what happens in language classrooms. And if we try to understand, then maybe we will teach better. So, you know, to use an example, when students don't speak in the class, instead of constantly telling them, speak, 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 you know, like you need to talk, unless you talk, you're not going to learn how to speak and learn English. Yeah? Instead of doing that, if we spend more time trying to understand the silence, you know, like to try to understand why it is that they don't speak, then maybe we'll kind of get to a deeper sort of understanding, and then maybe get to a place where sometimes they do speak. But if we actually just tell them, you must do this, you must do that, you must do the other. And this is the approach of this course, which is completely voluntary. You know, people hop in and they hop off, and they come when they feel comfortable. and the people who've come tonight are people who are interested in the topic of what happened, you know, on the 17th of November in 1989, and interesting to talk. And Almina, it's been fantastic that you've come, you know, like, and hearing your perspective on what's happening in
I wanted to attend the full session, and I'm sorry that I didn't, but I had a Zoom class, so I came right when I finished my Zoom lesson. Yeah.
And Almina, the fact that you've come after the lesson and it's late at night, you know, is wonderful, because having people from
Thank you, Mark.
Sorry?
Thank you, Mark, for your words.
Yeah, and having Bev here, and having a perspective from the United States of America and California, and having the perspective of 3 English people, you know, like, who have lived in Central Eastern Europe for long periods of time, you know, David and Frank and me, you know, and Ilona, you know, in a marriage, which is a Czech-Slovak marriage, and Rakesh with his Indian perspective, you know, and he brings that in. And we create space on this course for these kind of things to happen, and we listen to each other. And we're not trying to prove a point, you know, we're not trying to, I hate all these discussions. I deliberately avoid Facebook discussions, actually, you know, because, you know, people say, I think this is right. And someone says,
is right? Who is right? I am right.
Yeah. And they're into this kind of, you know, tennis match of confrontation, and I just do not.
Facebook makes that happen as well, though. That's part of its algorithm.
What's that, David?
I think I was reading somewhere. Facebook intentionally makes that happen. It's part of its algorithm. It promotes
controversy.
Yeah,
events and things like that. That's how it gets more posts.
And you may have known, Carla, you've said this to me since the lockdown. I have an approach to Facebook, which is about being positive, encouraging, trying to understand, getting people to think, you know, like, and to try and be supportive. That is my approach to Facebook. That's how I use Facebook. And I thought hard in March when Rakesh was with me in Budapest. And that was the last time, you know, that I went to Balaton after 215 nights in the same bed that Roman's sleeping in at the moment, you know, I didn't go anywhere, you know, and I decided, what is the role of a teacher trainer in lockdown when I can't go to schools, I can't go to conferences? And then I decided that I would make lots of videos with Ronan, you know, because we were together all the time for primary school, but also, you know, like the methodology of it is applicable in all kind of circumstances. And I wrote lots of lesson plans and notes. And then finally, you know, with Sol, we thought, how do we do an online teacher training course? And how do we do it in a way in which it works? And I racked my brains over this for 6 weeks about how to do it. And I thought the only way that you can do it is if you make it kind of voluntary, you do it over a longer period, you make it hop on and hop off. And then I invited people who I like, basically, like Rakesh, like David, like Nina, you know, people who I've kind of met over the years, who I've done stuff before with, who I've built up a relationship with, to make this an intimate space, which is kind of casual and fun, and getting the right balance between seriousness and fun, where we can hang out with a cafe, and it's not all transmission. And the fact that happened last night with that incredibly emotional song by Anne, you know, which moved us all to tears, was because the whole evening was done by the students. I mean, basically, I'm the teacher on this course. You know, I think this is a communicative classroom for a month. And I am the teacher. Anne is the kind of co-trainer. Like, it's kind of happened. We never planned it that way. But Anne is just unbelievable in her attention to detail. And we talk about what we do and how we do it. She's kind of become the co-trainer on this course. You know? And so you create this kind of nice atmosphere for people to understand, to have a safe place where after the most difficult year of our lives, for many of us, a place where you can just hang out, have a drink, you know, and if you learn a bit about methodology, all well and good, you know, like, but basically on Maslow's triangle of needs, I'm happy if people can come here and enjoy being here and leave, you know, after we've hung out now for an hour and a half, and you go to bed and you think, that was nice, you know, it was nice to hang around with a few friends, people who you know, and Anna's waving the rose there, you know, like, and
7:50, okay?
I know, in the morning. So
I'm okay. I'm sorry, I have to say goodbye.
we'll all
This
Yeah.
roast is to all of you.
but thank you everyone for all your contributions. Nina,
Thank you, Ilona, for putting together the slide.
That was brilliant, Ilona, that you did that for us. Really, really good. Thanks, Almina. Thanks, Rakesh, for your contribution with India. Bev being here for a fun, international, nice session. And
this roast goes to all of you. Love and be safe. Yeah.
Fiona is on tomorrow, and Nina. It's quite nice that we got both Fiona and Nina on one night. And have a good day tomorrow, and sleep well. And dobro noc.
Can I finish? Can I finish with the Václav Havel quote?
Yes, yes.
I have a Václav Havel quote that I think goes very nicely with Mark and this course and what he hoped for. And it's all about hope. And I suppose that you all know it because it's a very famous quote. And I love it dearly, as I love him so much. So he said, hope is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something makes sense, regardless of how it turns out. And it's turning out pretty well, Mark.
Yeah, I think so.
My love.
So, good night.
Dobro noc.
Good night. Good night, Anna.
Bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.
Okay.
See you tomorrow.
And everyone from me. Good night.
See you tomorrow.
Night.
Bye.
Well, another great night, really, and it really was the inspiration for the course. When I looked at this calendar and I thought maybe we can make a course of a month. I've never seen it before at all, and the fact that it rhymed, November to remember, was nice. And then when you look at the different days that are commemorated, from Guy Fawkes Night, to World Kindness Day, St Andrew's Day, the American elections, and it gave it a framework, and then like tonight, to look at the revolution in 1989 and look at the president, and we've just had a group of people who are Czech, Slovak, who've had stories to tell. We've listened to their stories, and we've had a perspective on Macedonia and a perspective on India, perspective from the United States of America, and the fact that we can all do this in a Zoom room and have, like we started off with a glass of wine and toasted something, in connection with the revolution or something else. It was just great. Yeah. Anyway, my glass is almost empty now, so I'll say dobro noc, as they say in Czech. It was an incredible experience, going through the revolution in Czechoslovakia and seeing students doing things that that may have thought they weren't capable of, got up and stood in front of lots of people and talked and made posters and communicated with people in neighboring villages and wrote lots of texts, you know, and translated them into different languages. They were active. And then it was only 2 years later that I went to Lancaster University to do my MA in ELT, and where I kind of came into contact with similar ideas of students being active in the classroom and learner contributions, and really encouraging students to contribute to what happened in the classrooms, and it stayed with me ever since, really. And this course is an example of that. And in many ways, last night's session, where it was all of the course participants who were giving presentations, was a move away from transmission type sessions, and then Anne sang that wonderful song. So time to shut the door, have my last bit of wine, and put my glasses on so I can see, where to end the meeting. Click on end, end meeting for all, and leave meeting. End meeting for all is in red, and leave meeting is in kind of grey. Well, everyone's left, and I'm the I'm the only person here, so I guess it's time to end meeting for all, and see you tomorrow.